Good morning, guys. Welcome to my second day on my Vyvanse journey. Making a little breakfast here. Thought I'd walk you through my experiences on Vyvanse on the first day and the first night. Bear with me as I make a little breakfast here. So, just a reminder, some details about my weight, etc., and the dosage. I weigh at the moment more than most NHL hockey players weigh. And I don't want to go into details about this because Vyvanse is not supposed to be a weight loss thing, primarily. It's supposed to be a treatment for ADHD and compulsive overeating. And it is very effective in both of those treatments so far, from what I've experienced so far. So based on what I just told you about my considerable size at the moment, I'm very overweight right now. I'm currently on 20 milligrams, and in consultation with my doctor, we're going to ramp those up weekly to slightly larger dosages. We're going to 20, 30, 40, and then we're going to see how well that levels off. So I took the pill yesterday. Some of the footage that, as you've already seen there, is me feeling the effects of the drug for the first time in my life. And I'm certainly a fan so far. I've come to realize after one day without ADHD that it's basically a form of madness. It's like you have all these mental monkeys jumping around your head and around your face, like 4 or 5 monkeys jumping around. And when this medicine, when Vyvanse kicks in, it sort of pushes the monkeys off to the side. They're still there. They kind of surface once in a while, but you're dialed in and you're able to focus on what you're doing for much, much longer. The relationship with food is a little weird. I haven't taken my pill yet today. I'm going to make a nice breakfast and do the pill. Relationship with food, a little weird. You're no longer sort of in the same emotional state with food, I find. It doesn't, food no longer represents the same comfort, reassurance, whatever unhealthy thing you had going with food. I don't know how it works, but seems to subside immediately with these meds. And I ate, I think, 4 times yesterday, small amounts, like moderate quantities of pretty healthy food, as opposed to my normal patterns, which are way too large quantities of often junk food. In one dosage, I was able to get away from that. So I have no idea what's going on with that, but it definitely works that way. So I would anticipate that there's going to be some weight loss, but more importantly, the relationship with food seems to improve immediately when the dosage kicks in. This is provided that you are in fact ADHD and are in fact compulsively overeating, as I am. Give me one sec. Add a couple spices here. So there is a stimulant sensation, certainly from the drug, that brings on a weird nostalgia because you feel like a kid, basically, with the energy and the strength that seems to come back with it. That was my experience with it anyway. And then another aspect of it is that depending on the dosage, as the day goes on, it wears off. So you're no longer on Vyvanse into the evening, depending on what dosage. I'm going to be increasing the dosage to keep that going longer because with me, it wore off early afternoon, and I still had 4 or 5 hours to get through, and I wasn't enjoying the benefit of the drug. So you're starting to get the monkey mind going again, and less stable, basically, was my experience. And then had a good night's sleep. I slept, I think, about 8 hours. I think I slept about 7 hours. Woke up feeling fine. I'm not feeling the effect of the drug whatsoever today. This is day 2. And I don't feel any kind of any sort of hangover effect from it, or any kind of craving for it or any of that. I don't get an addicted sense to it at all. I took some notes here. So yeah, you're basically, madness is a strong word, but you're dealing with serious issues when you have ADHD, and you learn to function to varying degrees. You learn to function with a form of madness, basically. That's what ADHD is. I don't know how I feel about medicating kids for it. I don't know how necessary that is, to be honest with you. It's not like they have to function on a job. I don't know what to think about that, or whether I wish I had been on it when I was a child, because I certainly could have been. A little bit of dry mouth experience initially, and then that wears off. Also a little bit of constipation, but not a huge deal. I went out driving yesterday after work, and I got a bunch of great footage for the regular YouTube I Will Wander content that I'm trying to post regularly. So no issues. Went to a coffee shop, had a nice little cup of coffee, and looked at the sites. A couple little details. Color retention seems slightly more intense. The colors seem to be more vibrant. Weird one. Focus. When I look at something, it's like when you're looking through a camera lens and you twist the focus, and it's more, it's a better focused image. There was a bit of that effect where it seemed like my vision improved. I don't know if that's my imagination, but I noticed that a few times where I was looking around, and it seemed like my focus was more dialed in. Visual focus that way had improved. Trying to think of what else was the first day of it. There is, I don't know if anxiety is the right word. I mean, the drug is a stimulant, but oddly, it's a stimulant that's calming your thoughts if you're ADHD. I don't know how it would affect you if you're not ADHD. You probably ripped on it. But by the way, you can't abuse this ADHD meds like you can Ritalin or one of those other. The only way it's effective is if you ingest it orally and it passes through your stomach line. Otherwise, you don't get any intoxication effect from Vyvanse, which is a huge benefit for possible abuse of people that don't need the drug. I'm trying to see my notes here. Give me a sec. Yeah, so based on my weight, my current overweight status, my dosage is extremely minimal. And on the first day, I was able to enjoy great benefit from that. I'm going to add a little bit of cumin to this. Yeah, definite benefits. And so far, I'm a fan. Mood and energy level were definitely up. I had tried Ritalin previously, and I felt ripped on the stuff. Like, I felt like I was partying, basically. It's a much more intense onset than Vyvanse. Vyvanse comes in more gradually and fades out more gradually. With Ritalin, I felt like I was crashing. With this stuff, didn't feel a crash at all. I just mellowed out yesterday evening. Really into music. I don't know if that was just coincidence or what, but I seemed to be, possibly as a result of the stimulant, more enthusiastic about the music I was listening to throughout the day and yesterday evening when I was hanging out here at home. It's one of my paintings, by the way. It's called Clouds. So that's it for day 2 so far. Before I actually start the medication for today, I got up and I'm making a little breakfast, as you can see, and I'll do an update tomorrow after I experience the second day of the minimal dosage I'm on, and then we'll do updates periodically throughout the process of ramping up to full dosage, and we'll see how that's going. One point I do feel warrants mentioning is that I started a new job just as I was making the decision to come onto this medication, and I didn't think it would be a good idea for me to be starting a dosage of a new drug I'd never tried before right at the same time that I was going into work at a new place of employment. So what I did was, just in case there was some unforeseen adverse effects of the drug onset, I waited until my first Saturday, essentially, after starting the new drug, so that when I'm heading back to work on Monday, I will have had 3 days of familiarity with the effects of it, and nothing too intense will be going on while you're at work. Basically, I felt that warranted mentioning that if you're in a similar circumstance, it might be worth holding off until your first Saturday, whatever day is your Saturday in your employment circumstances, holding off until that day, and then trying your first dosage. Hello again. I'm kind of out and about, proceeding with my day here on day 2 of this Vyvanse experiment. Still a bit of dry mouth, not the end of the world. I'm at a drive-thru getting a drink right now that'll hopefully appease that somewhat. One thing I thought might be worth mentioning was when you're getting your initial dosage, the pharmacist, when I got my initial dosage, the pharmacist, yep, thank you. The pharmacist essentially told me not to behave like an ADHD individual when it comes to the medication. So if you've got the condition, you'll know that there's, kind of a shiny object syndrome where you endeavor with something and then too quickly jump to something else without fully pursuing the initial thing that you were involved with. And the pharmacist essentially told me, don't behave that way when it comes to the medication. Don't just try it once or twice. Kind of bail on it or flake on it or whatever term you want to use. But he said, give it a couple months. Make sure you give it an extended period of time to have full effect, and for you to feel the full benefit of it. So that's something I thought I should share. Unless you have some kind of extreme severe adverse, which I've never really heard of that, I would highly recommend waiting for an extended period, like a couple months, while you're on it, before you make a decision whether to change the dosage or go off it, or try another one. I would stick with it for a while. I've seen on YouTube a couple times there are these guys who talk about their experience with Vyvanse, and they tried it for a couple of days and then decided it wasn't for them, and go off it. You can't base your experiences on that at all, I don't feel, because it's not even completely in your system yet after a couple of days. So you don't really know what the long-term benefits of the medication are. So maybe take those other YouTube videos with a grain of salt, where the guy is talking about, 2 days into it, this happened, so I got off them and all that. It's not adequate time to really get the full benefit. See you in a bit. Music really resonates with you on Vyvanse for some reason. I have no idea why that would be, but you really get enthusiastic about the music you're listening to. I mean, it really resonates with you, the music, for some reason. It's fantastic. I mentioned how the visuals are sometimes a little more intense on Vyvanse. In a spot like this, that's not a difficult thing. I'm at the Kelowna Tree of Hope. There's a couple reflections of it. And there's the actual tree. Absolutely beautiful spot. I mean, really good visuals. And we're into day 3 of my Vyvanse journey. Slept really well last night, probably about 7.5 hours. Had some really good dreams. I was concerned about that, what effect it would be having on the REM cycle, and doesn't seem to be an issue. If anything, I think I probably dreamed a little bit more last night. So that's not a problem at all. Sleep isn't a problem at all. And today's Sunday, and I'm wearing my special painting shirt. So we're going to get into a painting here in a second. I am an extremely visual person. I'm showing you some of my abstract paintings right now. And my other creative outlets are photography, screenwriting, web design, and the videography you're seeing right now. I was concerned that the medication might affect my ability to visualize, and that's a big issue because much of my spare time creative involves visuals like the ones you're seeing. So far, there has been no effect that way. If anything, the visuals I've been getting, mental images, visual imaginings, have been more intense. So Vyvanse does not limit or take away your ability to do that in any way. If anything, it improves on that. And I'm going to start in on my first painting today while on this drug. Canvas, coffee all set, and I've got all my paints set up here. And I'll show you how it turns out when I'm done. There's my painter hand. Love having paint on my hands. And here is the first painting I've done while on Vyvanse. With abstract, the benefit and joy of it is there's no real wrong. Doesn't feel quite done to me, but I'll check back with it again tomorrow after it's dried and see if I need to touch it up. The point is, though, that at this stage of things anyway, it doesn't appear that Vyvanse interferes with your creative process, if that's a concern for you. I don't have a name for it yet. That'll come to me too. And I'll make you aware when I think of one. Good morning from week 2 of my Vyvanse journey. Today is the second day that I have been taking 30 milligrams. I upped it from 20, which I was taking for the first week of this process. So far, so good. We've had a big snow here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to go out in a few moments with my camera. Like I mentioned, the visualization process, if that's part of your creative, is not an issue. If anything, that comes on more intensely. I haven't had an issue with sleeping. Took a few naps over the past week without problem. Dreaming, maybe slightly more intense with the dreams. The diet is better. I am eating. I was worried that I would have a complete aversion to food, but that's not what's happening. I just got in the shower, so I'm still kind of warm here. Yeah, no aversion to food. I just eat moderate amounts periodically, as opposed to the unhealthy pattern that I had going previously. No issues whatsoever. It very effectively mellows you out. I haven't had a problem with this job that I started at the same time. One thing I did do was time the start of the drug to my first Saturday, which I would recommend because in case there's an adverse onset for you, you don't want to be basically tripping balls at a new job while this drug is not agreeing with you. No problem for me. No, it wasn't a problem at all. I would recommend also starting on a low dosage, about 20 milligrams, I would say. I've seen online where people talk about starting at really high dosages. I would say 20 is good. And then work your way up weekly until you get a dose that you feel is enough or doing the job properly. Also, not getting any addictive concerns for this. When late evening, you're no longer on the drug, and then when you wake up the next morning, you're not on the drug at all. It's not, you can feel it's not in your system. And there's no intense longing for it that way. If anything, I'm considering taking occasional days off. So not like an opiate concern with the drug. It's not addictive that way. Sorry, I'm yawning. It's a stimulant that mellows me out, which is an interesting thing. If it's used properly for somebody with ADHD, it has a mellowing effect, especially on your thought processes. That aspect of it is improved. What I call the monkey mind, where there's too much going on that way, it's subsided almost completely while under the influence of the drug. It does tend to come back later in the day as the drug is wearing off. Some of the old patterns return, and then it's up to you to concentrate to try and keep things healthy that way. One thing which I'm experiencing right now, there is a bit of dry mouth, and that persists, but again, it's not a big deal. I'm going to sip some water in a minute. It'll be gone. And the constipation that I mentioned was extremely brief, and then just no issue whatsoever that way. So I'm going to go with my camera and take some lovely photos of this beautiful snow we've had. And after I sip some water, I will keep you posted periodically as this wander on Vyvanse continues for me. And if there's anything else that seems relevant or pertinent or whatever, I'll do a quick update. So today is a Sunday for me. I'm wearing my special painting shirt because on Sundays I try to do a little bit of creative. I had talked about how I had concerns about creative output, and it is certainly not an issue at all on Vyvanse. I'm about to start a new technique that I've never tried before. I'm going to do acrylic pour, and then on top of that, I've got all the materials ready there. All my painting stuff in my little studio, my canvas is ready. And on top of the acrylic pour, I'm going to put acrylic paints and work with them on top of the initial pattern, something similar to that, something I've never done before. Excuse me. So yeah, creative is certainly not an issue on this medication. There's the first sort of version or draft of it. Normally after they dry, I see something that doesn't feel quite right, and I have to add a little bit more to the painting before it feels completely done to me. But with this one, this feels done right now. And it's called Poets. I was listening to the Tragically Hip while I was painting it. I don't think Gord Danny would mind me using that title. I wasn't sure how things were going to go with regards to exercise while on the medication, but I'm out at a place called Knox Mountain here in Kelowna where I live, and I've just done a moderate hike up the mountain. Not too strenuous, but it's a hike, and no issues whatsoever with getting a little bit of exercise this way. at all. If anything, you're feeling better. Yeah, I would say if anything, you're feeling better during the process. So it's all good. Still enjoying the endorphin benefits of that hike I just finished. What strikes me about Vyvanse is that the effect of the drug essentially acts as an impulse control when it comes to food consumption. I'm noticing this in my thought patterns. Often, not always, but often, I would start to crave food, and a lot of the time, I would act on that craving, and I would go get the chocolate bar or chips or whatever other unhealthy food I was consuming. And this drug somehow stops that process. So you'll still get thoughts of food. With me, it's junk food in particular. I've had, I guess, quite a severe junk food addiction, contributing to my overweight condition. And I find since this drug has come into my life, it doesn't get acted on. The impulse and the urge to consume the junk food. So I don't know how or why that's happening, but it very clearly is happening. I'm not appeasing the junk food addiction while on my meds. So it's kind of fantastic that way. Just thought I'd put that out there. Hey guys, sorry if there's any wind noise. I'm currently into the third week of this Vyvanse experiment. I'm now on 40 milligrams of the drug, and so far so good. I haven't had any issues sleeping at all. There was a brief headache, maybe an hour or something, but that could just as easily have been related to something else. It wasn't necessarily to do with the drug at all. Bit of dry mouth persisting, but that's really not a big deal. You just take a sip of drink, and there it is. I've started writing again, and I hadn't written screenplay format in quite some time. So there's no issue with creative at all. If anything, it might be enhancing certain forms of creative. For me, anyway, it's not a problem. There is one factor. You develop a tolerance for the drug, and it starts to feel very quickly at this low dosage like you may not even be on the drug. Like, you start to wonder if you've been issued a placebo, because there really does not feel like there's any effect going on with the drug. What I'm going to do is, I'm into my weekend now, and I'm going to take at least 1 day, possibly 2 days off, and then see what effect that has at this dosage. And if there doesn't seem to be more of an effect at this dosage, I think what I'm going to do is, in consultation with my doctor, I'm going to consider increasing the dosage so that it has more of an effect, because it really doesn't seem like there's much going on. I'm sure there is, but the tolerance that you build up takes away that sense from the drug. But otherwise, all systems good. There's no real, I can't think of any real, sorry about the wind noise. I'm assuming you guys are having a problem hearing me there. But yeah, there's no real negative to this at all. Your diet habits improve. Ability to concentrate radically improves if you're ADHD and you take this medication. So, so far it's good. I'll keep you posted as the experiment continues. I'm gonna do a few things. Take a couple days off, change the dosage, and we'll see how that goes. Morning, guys. It's the next day from the last post that I put up with me standing by the road. I talked about the sense that I may even have been issued a placebo because I wasn't feeling the benefit of the Vyvanse I was on. not the case today. I took the pill. I'm at 40 milligrams into week 3 of this. Took the pill this morning, and I am most certainly feeling the benefit of it today. Very clearly, this has kicked in. I have a bunch of creative entrepreneurial stuff on the go that's taking up a lot of time, and I'm working really, really weird hours at a conventional job, if you will, to pay for all this thus far unsuccessful stuff entrepreneurially. So the exhaustion may have been a factor in why I wasn't under the impression that I was benefiting from this Vyvanse, but it absolutely is kicking today, and loving it so far. I'm sitting here early Saturday morning, just made a really good breakfast, working on the social media for 3 of the online businesses that I have on the go. So far so good. I'll keep you posted. A factor with Vyvanse is caffeine consumption. I, pre-Vyvanse, would drink coffee almost all day, every day, until not too long before I went to sleep at night, without issue sleeping. But I was a constant caffeine drinker. Since I started Vyvanse, I have greatly reduced the amount of caffeine that I'm consuming. So that is something to consider. Another thing I thought about was some people have talked about having headaches on occasion when they start Vyvanse, and it may be a reduction in your caffeine consumption, and you're just not aware of it because you're sort of generally a little more energized from the meds, and you're not taking in as much coffee, and that the caffeine withdrawal may in fact be what's leading to a headache, possible, or maybe it is in fact the Vyvanse causing that. But that is something to consider: is your caffeine consumption will decline quite a bit. Hello again. I am now into day 3, I believe, of week 4 of the Vyvanse journey I'm on. Up in consultation with my doctor, up the dosage from 40 milligrams to 50 milligrams a day, and I'm finding this a little much. This is really intense at this dosage for me anyway. I don't know how it might affect you, but it's not gentle at this dosage. You feel some pretty intense effects of the drug, and I'm now 3 days into it. So if it was going to subside, I think it already would have. So I think what has to happen is I need to, after a week, I'll make sure, I play it out properly. It's not overwhelming or anything. It's just kind of intense. So after a week of 50 milligrams, my 4th week into this at 50 milligrams, if it's still coming on and feeling like too much, I think what I'll have to do is go back down to 40. And I think I'm going to take at least 1 day off, if not 2 days off, between the 2 dosage levels, so that at 40 milligrams at the reduced dosage, I'm getting a sensed effect of the medication. Because I wasn't aware of this, but once it's working completely properly at the exact right dosage, you're not really aware that you're even on any form of medication. You're just getting the benefits of it, but you're not feeling very much from it. Whereas at 50 milligrams, especially the first couple of days, I felt just whacked for a few hours. No issues driving, and civil enough exchanges with everybody around me, I guess. But I was experiencing some very intense symptoms of this. So I'm going to ride this out for a week, see how it goes, and in all probability, I will be cutting this back. One thing, I don't know if I've touched on this or not, for me anyway, and I'm assuming this is the same across the board, for males anyway, there is an increase in libido, increased interest overall, and in just general libido intensity gets better. So I'm sure your partner will be pleased with that.
I don't know that too many of them would be displeased with that circumstance, but that is something to consider, that the sex drive and just general interest in sexuality tends to get a little more interesting the higher the dosage you go. And then there's a limit to it where you're just too... It feel at this level, it feels like some form of pressure is on you, whereas the proper dosage removes almost all anxiety or angst that way, compared to when you're enduring ADHD symptoms. That pretty much goes away at the proper dosage. But at too high a dosage, there is some sort of underlying issue that way. It's not stress, and you're not frazzled and doing things too quickly or any of that. But for the first part of your day anyway, you do feel a little bit pressurized, shall we say, by the dosage. So I'll check in again if anything seems relevant enough to warrant mentioning in this. And then I think I'm almost done with the description of my experience on this. I'll come back when we get back down to 40 milligrams a day and describe how that's going. Hi again, quick update on the dosage. I am still on 50 milligrams. This is day 4 now, I think I've completed of it, and it isn't feeling as overwhelming as it had for the previous days. A pattern with dosages is, for me anyway, they start to wear off sooner, and it starts to feel less intense. The benefit of the drug starts to feel less intense a few days into each 10 milligram increase in dosage. So as it stands, I think I may continue with the 50 milligrams for a slightly longer period and see how that settles in. From what I've seen online, there are people who are taking really, really high doses of this stuff. And from what I can tell, the maximum legal dosage is 70 milligrams. And I am, fairly large as far as weight goes. I'm a fairly large male right now. I'm heavy. And I'm doing 50 milligrams. And that is intense at first. So if you're getting above 70 milligrams, I don't know how advisable that might be. I think it might be beneficial to have a chat with your physician if you're in a dosage above 70 milligrams for any reason, because I can't see a reason why for ADHD symptoms or compulsive overeating, which is the purpose of this drug for adults, I can't see a reason why you would ever need more than 70 milligrams. Even, really, really heavy people, which is a factor in dosage, I don't see that it's a good idea to go above 70. I can't see myself ever going above 50 milligrams, and I weigh more than an average NHL hockey player right now. And I wouldn't exceed the dose of 50. So that's just something to consider. If you're thinking about upping the dosage much past 70 milligrams, I would give that some second thought. Hey again, into week 2 now at the 50 milligram dosage, and nothing too intensely negative to report at all. There is, I find, a little bit of sensitivity to light at the bigger dosages. If there's an intense light that you're exposed to, it seems to resonate with your retina a little bit longer than it might have without the benefit of the medication. But other than that, there's nothing really negative to things so far. Still a bit of dry mouth. I'm experiencing it right now, and there has been some weight loss. The relationship with food gets healthier immediately when you start this. So the frequency of eating and the size of the portions that you eat become healthier immediately. And I noticed, as I mentioned, really early on, and is that the thinking in the relationship with food, however that's happening, changes immediately, where much of the emotional attachment involving food subsides, and it just becomes a good thing. Still some junk. I'm still eating. I saw on YouTube where some of the guys talked about when they had the bigger dosages, they had so little interest in food that they weren't eating, and they had to essentially force themselves to eat. I'm not experiencing that. I'm still eating 3 or 4 times a day, I guess. And there's still a little bit of junk food. That's a very long-standing addiction with me. So still some chips and chocolate and things of that nature. Getting almost no pleasure from the junk food, as I was previously, where it represented all these things to you as you were unhealthily gorging on it. I realize as I'm eating it often now that I'm getting nothing from this. That way, I'm just maintaining an unhealthy habit that I get the feeling is going to subside. It has already, to an extent. Not doing the junk food nearly as much, but hopefully it'll be almost entirely eliminated as time goes on. And with the weight loss, kind of a weird thing. My wardrobe has quadrupled, I guess, because a lot of the stuff that I became too heavy to wear, a lot of the stuff that I became too heavy to wear is now an option, again, because my waist size has shrunk as a result of the lifestyle changes brought on by Vyvanse usage. So yeah, wearing a lot of clothes that I haven't worn in a really long time. Not exactly a fashion slave anyway, but it's nice to have a lot more options that way. I'll keep you posted. I don't know at this point whether or not I'm going to reduce the dosage. I had planned to do that, but I'll see how effectively I settle into the 50 milligrams, and if it feels like it's appropriate near the end of this week, then I'll stay at the 50 milligrams. If not, if it feels sort of heavy or like too much in some way, I'll go back down to 40. But I'll keep you posted, and that'll probably be the final addition to this little journey I'm taking you guys on. Hey again, so something that came to light to me this evening was to what extent I might experience and feel various emotions when on 50 milligrams of Vyvanse. There have been 2 occasions where anger was the appropriate response. Today I had a circumstance develop, no sense going into it, but a fair amount of anger was appropriate in the circumstances I found myself in, and I was curious whether or not I'd essentially go postal or feel almost nothing at all. And the emotion was there, the negative, intense emotion was there, but it was by no means overwhelming or seemingly excessive in comparison to what I may have experienced in the same circumstance if I wasn't taking 50 milligrams of Vyvanse. If anything, I think I may have lost it. Not violent or anything, but there would have been much more intense exchanges today. If I hadn't been on this, I think it actually blunted things that way, if anything. So that doesn't need to be a concern either. And I've been enjoying some comedies, laughing my ass off, and not really getting tearful, but I don't really do that anyway. But the full gambit of emotions seems to be on offer at this dosage level without anything so far anyway occurring that felt excessive as far as intensity of how you're feeling.
Wanted to record this before I forget. I did a little bit of an experiment yesterday, and I didn't take any Vyvanse last night. That's after just over a month straight on the drug. Wanted to see what effect that would have, if anything. And other than some fatigue, there were no real serious withdrawal circumstances, and that's going straight off 50 milligrams. So no physical withdrawal, no addictive jonesing sort of thing, and no emotional circumstances surrounding the drug leaving your system. There was some fatigue, definitely noticeable fatigue from it, but I'm assuming that subsides after another day or two on it. And from what I gather from any of these drugs, if you're getting up into the higher dosages, it's advisable to go down 10 milligrams a week, and then ease yourself off the final minimal dosage, not stop from the higher numbers like what I did. So very good news that way. The drug is entirely non-addictive. Zero addiction circumstances to not taking the drug for almost 30 hours, I would say. So you'd feel it if there was something going on there. You would definitely be aware. And I felt nothing other than being tired. So that's fantastic news that way, if that was a concern. It was definitely a concern of mine, but it is not an issue with Vyvanse. I think that's about it for my Vyvanse journey description here, guys. I'm about 6 weeks into things. I settled into a dosage of 50 milligrams, which seems to work perfectly for me. I feel the benefit of it for just the right amount of time during the day, and then it sort of fades later in the day, and I'm able to get to sleep without issue. Just a reminder, started at 20 milligrams after consulting with a doctor and getting some very specific tests done on my heart and blood pressure and whatnot. Went up by 10 milligrams a week until 50 milligrams is what I settled on, and that certainly feels like enough. I don't know that I'd want to be going higher than that, because I think the effect of it would last, for me anyway, would last too long, and I think sleep might be an issue. It's not now. I get to sleep very quickly, and I nap on occasion without problems, but any higher a dose, and you'd be getting into issues with sleep, I think. And 70 is the maximum legal dose, so if for whatever reason you've been placed on a dose above that, you might want to consider lowering that, because I don't know how that could be a benefit. It's too much. And when you get it just right, it is certainly a benefit. The only persistent side effect that I can sense at this point, 6 weeks into this, is dry mouth. I do endure dry mouth with this. I chew gum, I sip a drink of some sort. Just a second. But other than the dry mouth, I'm not really dealing with any obvious symptoms with this. It alleviates the ADHD struggles in pretty much every way that I can think of. Creative has not been interfered with. If anything, it's increased. I am dreaming seemingly more than I was before I started taking this medication. I went skiing the other night without issue, so athletics are not a problem whatsoever. Concentration increases, I don't even know, 20-fold. You can focus and concentrate an immeasurable amount better than without the drug. The addictive concern isn't really there. I have tested it where I've gone a day without it, and there was absolutely no withdrawal, physical or emotional withdrawal. So that isn't an issue. If you decided that you wanted to stop taking it, it wouldn't be a problem. Although from what I've heard, they recommend that you gradually reduce it by 10 milligrams a week down to, say, 20 or something, and then ease yourself off it that way. I don't think you're supposed to stop from a higher dosage and just quit cold turkey like that.
But yeah, not sensing any addictive qualities to it at all. So enthusiastic thumbs up. I don't know how I feel about medicating a child with ADHD, to be honest, even if it's quite severe. Um, I don't know where I stand on that, but I know that as adults who are making the decisions themselves, this Vyvanse is, from what I gather, the latest option for ADHD medication. It's extremely effective for me anyway, and I have not really noticed, other than dry mouth, I haven't really noticed any symptom worth noting. To be honest, it feels like a small miracle. I'll be honest with you. One significant point that I think does warrant mentioning. Vyvanse is an effective medication for adult ADHD, and I assume with children as well. In adults, it's also prescribed for compulsive overeating, and it absolutely works that way as well. Your relationship with food changes almost immediately, I noticed, and I still eat consistently, but it isn't an unhealthy relationship that I have with food and eating and everything else that goes along with that. I have lost a bit of weight just because I'm not eating to excess like I was. Give you an example. There's a pizza spot that I go to consistently whenever I'm going through the area where it's in, and I used to get 2 slices and eat them easily without issue. Went back and I realized after 1 full slice I was full, and then the last time I went I had a half a slice of pizza. So I'm eating a quarter of what I used to, and it's plenty of food. There's lots of food involved in that little example. So yeah, the food thing is a factor when you start getting into the higher dosages, because you could easily go without food. Very unhealthy to do so, but you could. I make a point of eating consistently about every 4 hours or so, but the portions are much smaller, and it is worth noting that your relationship with and dynamic with food will definitely change, especially when you get into a little higher dosage on Vyvanse. But otherwise, enthusiastic thumbs up. I wouldn't hesitate if you're enduring ADHD and you've never had your symptoms effectively relieved before. You're probably going to be a lot more forgiving with yourself, because you will. I realized after taking this medication effectively that I have been dealing for my entire life with some quite severe mental circumstances that were posing challenges that I was not aware of until they went away by taking this drug. And then it's a light bulb aha moment, curtain up moment, where you realize, okay, I've been dealing with some really serious things here. So huge self-worth benefit that way as well, because you realize that some of you might, anyway, I did realize that a great many of the challenges you've been dealing with are a result of this form of mental illness in ADHD, and they go away with this drug. So hope it works out for you. One last point to make regarding Vyvanse and the experience on Vyvanse. Ironically, I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but as you're onboarding and you're increasing your dosage, there is a little bit of an issue with short-term memory. It abates once you get acclimatized to the dosage that you settle on. But as you're increasing that for the initial phase of the larger dose, there did seem to be some slight issues with short-term memory that fade as the day goes on, as the drug wears off, the dosage for that day wears off. The issues with the memory resolve themselves. I did feel that warranted mentioning, but otherwise, absolutely 2 thumbs up on this. It other than the dry mouth that you're witnessing there, it improves things 100%. So by all means, I would strongly advise people to seriously consider this to resolve adult ADHD and compulsive overeating as well. One thing that I think does warrant mentioning in this experience is the short-term memory aspect of things. When you start on higher dosages and are getting, I'm just kidding, guys. I know I just mentioned the short-term memory thing. Little Vyvanse humor there. That's about it. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey as I figure out whether or not to stay on this very effective adult ADHD medication that also treats compulsive overeating. On the food front, you don't stop eating, or at least I didn't. I just stopped eating excessive amounts and too often. I still eat 3 or 4 times a day. I just don't eat too much. I eat a moderate amount of food. And I still do junk food once in a while. It's a very, very long established habit with me to have certain types of junk food while I'm doing certain things. And I still do that once in a while, but I don't do it anywhere near as much as I used to. So it did very effectively treat the food issues that I was having, as well as the adult ADHD issues that I've been dealing with for a very, very long time. So I have no association with the drug or the drug manufacturers or any of that. If any of you were wondering that, I don't have anything to do with the company. I'm not getting paid for any of this. I just thought it would be an interesting journey to bring people along and see how things worked out with this process. It has undeniably increased my, or improved rather, my quality of life in almost every way. So I don't think there's much more you can say than that. It makes things better in almost every way that it's supposed to and it's designed to. So good luck with it. I hope you have as positive an experience as what I have had on this if you do decide to go the medication route for conditions that may be ailing you. Hey again, guys. I keep thinking I'm done with this, and something else comes up that I feel warrants mentioning. I have, for the longest time, played the lottery. This isn't quite straight. Give me a sec. And not, horribly addicted to gambling, where you're spending your rent money on a basketball game, or your mortgage is gone to a poker match or something. Not like that, but I have for the longest time devoted too much time, energy, thought, and certainly money to playing the different lotteries that are available, the national and the provincial lotteries that are an option. I've spent too much money on that over the years, and I've paid way too much attention to the draws and how much the jackpot was and whatever goes on with lottery addiction, basically. Right? Since Vyvanse has been a consistent aspect of my life, I just noticed today I'm not really anywhere near as concerned with the lottery. I don't have anywhere near the same weird delusion, I guess you'll call it, that it's likely even that you're going to win the lottery. I don't have that anymore. So I've noticed that because your thoughts settle down on this drug, you're not attempting to process a whole lot of emotions at once that are going on with all of these thoughts that are going through your mind at the same time, unlike people that don't have ADHD. So you essentially become more rational as a result of the drug effectively benefiting you. You're a more rational person when you've got the right dosage going on this stuff, which is my circumstance right now. And a very tangible example of that is my lack of motivation to indulge in gambling. In the way I do it is with the lottery. I don't go to a casino or play poker online or any of that. But I do play the lottery, and I was playing it too much. I still play, but nowhere near as much as I was
before. So, not saying it's necessarily going to, entirely be a cure for people who may be gambling addicts, but that would certainly tie in with ADHD having an issue with gambling, because you've got the impulse control scenarios, and not entirely rational much of the time, because you've got all these thoughts going on, and then some of the emotions associated with those thoughts. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that the gambling has reduced. There is one more little detail that has developed since I said anything else about Vyvanse into a camera. Excuse me. And I had been consistently upping the dosages by 10 milligrams. And then there seemed to be a limited effect to it. It didn't seem like it was properly working for me. So I upped it from 50 milligrams to 60 milligrams. I tried that for a month. That was excessive. I didn't like it. When you've got the exact right dosage of it, you don't feel a physical sensation to the drug. You're just aware of the fact that your mind has settled and is working much, much better, essentially. As you're onboarding and up and down with the dosage, you might have physical sensations to it. But once you're at the proper dosage, there is none of that. When I'm at 60 throughout the day, I get a physical. There are waves of physical sensation that come over me, and it's too much for me. My metabolism, my size, I don't know what it is, but at this point, 60 is too much. So, in consultation with my physician, as everything is with this drug, we've decided to reduce it by 10 milligrams, and I've been on that for 4 or 5 days now, and that feels again. I again feel like I'm on just the right dose at 50 milligrams after it being a little bit excessive. So this might be it, guys. I don't know whether I'm gonna finally edit this thing together and put it out there, or something else will come to me, and I'll add that too. Either way, that's been my experience so far.